Ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever watched any sort of chess content here on YouTube, you've probably gotten recommended the video Chad GM Ben Finegold destroys version Gotham Chess with a very funny and classy thumbnail. Now, not everything about that video title is accurate. Certain words I would tend to disagree with, but overall that video is me getting absolutely demolished in a blitz game against Ben. Absolutely nothing incorrect about it. It was a Budapest gambit. It did not go my way. And ever since that day, I've always dreaded the day that I would be streaming blitz and I would get paired against Ben again. I mean, I can play him in Title Tuesday, I suppose, but that has never happened until a couple of days ago. It was a dark and stormy night. Actually, I think it was just cold, like all winter nights in New York. And I was playing some blitz, and I saw I got paired against Ben. He was rated 2780. Don't worry about 2802. That chess.com updates the live ratings. And I was like, God damn it. We were both streaming, and I knew that the task in front of me was monumental because I had to win. There was no other way. And I failed. And I failed in spectacular fashion. And the first step of failure is to not try at all, or something like that. Something like that. But I figured that if I were to lose these games, I would turn them into content. That is why I am here. This is like the confessional booth. I'm a Jew. We don't have those in synagogues, but you know. Let's just jump into the game. This is going to be my confession. So we played two games. The first game, I played d4. Ben played knight to f6, and I went for a Trompowsky. Also, it turns out that this was during Ben's run to 2800, so he's been like crushing it in blitz recently. So I'm playing like a red-hot Ben. And I played the Trompowsky because it's a very easy system to play in blitz. I could have played c4, went for a main line, but the next like 10 moves are super simple. You play pawn to e3. At some point, you're going to trade this bishop for this knight, and you're going to rebuild on the dark squares. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, literally, unless black hangs all of their pieces, that is what I'm going to do. And you'll notice I've actually delayed the development of my knight for a little bit. Ben does something very principled here. He doesn't play for c5 right away. This bishop is kind of the king of my position because I'll use it to attack in the future. And since I've surrounded it with dark squared pawns, my light squares will be a little bit weak if you trade that bishop off. See, if black plays knight d7, black is not as easily going to be able to play bishop to a6. It's a very principled thing to do. I actually really don't like when people do it. And I delayed my development of my knight because I wanted to do a stonewall setup. And I waited like this because I'm going to chop off my bishop. Then my knight will go to the middle. And in the future, when I castle, my rook is going to go f3, h3. So we both got exactly what we wanted. You know, he traded off my light squared bishop. I got my stonewall structure. And let the fun begin with the move a6. Now here, I mean, in a perfect world, you know, you play knight g5, you deliver mate. Sadly, the world is not perfect, and also, this is not guess the elo. I mean, you'll see in the future, maybe some of my moves qualify, but, you know, so far, so good. So, knight to e5 is definitely the more principled option of the two. Knight to g5 just hangs a pawn. Ben took, and we have a knight versus bishop situation, but also we just have an opportunity for me to kind of like transfer my pieces over here and maybe do some damage. I was like, all right, we're gonna, you know, do some attack king. All the while in my mind, I'm thinking, I can't end up as another YouTube clip. Oh my God, I'm absolutely petrified of losing this game. He plays f5. I actually really thought this move was strong when he played it because it blocks what I want. But then I remembered that my training in the Anarchy Chess Dojo was definitely going to pay off because I knew my calling. I had to play en passant. And it looks like you really don't want to play that move because black gets the active bishop. But even though the bishop is active, my play is not dead. If I allow my opponent to block up the position, I have no play, and my knight is just not very strong. But this actually gave me a little bit of hope, and I thought I was making some good progress here by breaking the center of the board with e4. I figured he would take, and then maybe take again, and he did, and to my surprise, what did he play here? He played b5, yeah, and I thought right now was a good moment for me to take over the initiative. I was correct in my assumption, I was incorrect with my execution. What a beautiful saying. Wow, I should be a philosopher. No, God forbid. Do not put me in a category with such other greats. So d5 is the way I should seize the initiative here with a center pawn break. This is the last move that would occur to my brain because I would just imagine something like rook d8 pinning me. But then I just shove the pawn forward. which, you know, in Blitz, you have to make split-second decisions, and my split-second decision was, why don't we trade on f6 and open up his king? That actually looks pretty good. His king's a little open. His pawns might be a little bit soft here with my rook and my queen coming in, and I was like, all right, I'm actually very happy here. Turns out his position's actually really durable. Like, I can't, even though I can attack a few things, he's fast enough with his defenses, right? So I played queen e4, king g7, and right here, I was certain I was finding a winning path. Rook g3, rook h3, rook c3 to get over here. I mean, I'm like, but no, the computer completely doesn't agree with me. Says black is completely fine. f5 was a little bit of a weakening move, but I didn't even play the execution. I mean, I was like, dude, I'm right here. Rook g7 is coming. Rook c3, rook c7. I'm like, I'm so fast. Fast as Fark, boy. Still fast as Fark, boy. I'm not cursing. Fark. I don't want to swear too much. I've got kids watching. Rook c3. I'm like, oh, I'm like making progress. And Ben just defending everything. His king defends the queen the whole time. I was like, how do I, what the hell am I doing wrong? Where's my breakthrough? So I tanked all my time on the clock here, and I'm like, all right, let's go for a pawn up endgame. Now, this is just not good at all. So the thing about rook endgames is that activity matters more than, I mean, like material is good, but a pawn is not worth, you know, a rook flying down the board and just cutting you up. He went this way, and it didn't even occur to me to defend my pawn. I mean, that's the best move, but I was like, I'm gonna go here, and by the time, you know, again, because his rook is so active, he won my b pawn. This is just a draw. A trades for B, E and F, G and H, but it's not a draw in 3-minute blitz. It's particularly not a draw in 3-minute blitz when one side is up 40 seconds on the clock, which Ben was. It's particularly not a draw where even if you have a 40-second time advantage, you're also trying to hit 2,800. So I would 100% play on here with black, and I was like pretty frustrated because it's a really hard position to draw. This, practically speaking, is undrawable with white in a blitz game because, especially when you're down 40 seconds, because you don't know what your opponent's gonna do. Is he gonna check you? Is he gonna? You can't pre-move. If you can pre-move, okay, at least that's one thing. But I actually made some good progress. Ben gave me some hope here because while he was making these moves, he moved his pieces forward. Like, he let me push my H-pawn. So I was getting really excited. I was like, oh, we're not gonna lose. Nice, this is easy. I have this in the bag. I'm just gonna push my pawn, bring my king, sack my rook for his pawn. I'm gonna make a queen. It's gonna be king versus king. No problem, no problem, no problem. I got you. And then I just, because I had like 5 seconds, completely hallucinated that after rook takes rook, I'm too slow. So here, when I made all the progress, I should go rook f7, rook g7. He can push, but I have this. And probably, well, I don't know, maybe I would lose on time anyway. I was like, damn it, no, 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 no. All right, rematch, let's go, rematch. I played rook f1, he took my rook. That was the end of the game. Okay, at this point, he's like 27.95, 6, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute. It occurred to me what was going on. So I went to his profile and I was like, oh God, this is the game. Like, if he beats me, he gets 2,800. I'm like, this is a lot of pressure. This is more pressure than the World Chess Championship. Okay, it's like close. The World Championship is like very close, but this feels like more pressure. So he goes d4. I know not to play the Budapest Gambit. I play like 10 different things against d4 because I'm trash. I mean, the Nimso's pretty good. I was like, let's go for a modern. So he plays this. This is actually a really fun way to play against e4, d4, and c4 with g6, bishop, g7. You can go for an accelerated King's Indian, one where you don't play knight f6. You can also just play the King's Indian, which I don't. You can also play knight c6, so immediately attacking the center like this, d5, knight d4, just like complex. I mean, white tries to kind of chip away at your knight with the pieces because the pawns went too far. They can't go back. And you defend your knight with the pawn. So really complex stuff that can happen. He plays knight e2, I decide to play c5, and my pawn is sort of stranded there on d4, but it's really hard for white to win it. Like b3, I just go d3, and now kabam, that's really bad. Knight d2, knight f, I mean, it's too slow. I'm gonna play e5. That's what I did. I played bishop d3, I played e5, which apparently is a bad move. I thought I was supposed to play e5. I think I'm supposed to go d6 first. And Ben immediately punished me in a move. I played knight e7 and I was like, wait a minute, I think white can play a very strong move here. You would think that white should develop the bishop, the knight, maybe crack my center open here with f4 because he has a lead in development. By the way, just so you guys understand, d6 is not a bad move, but my knight just goes to where it wants to go. It's a move, it's a one mover, and it kind of improves my position more than it improves white's position. So there's a very classy move here, and it's the fact that in normal King's Indian positions, black wants to lock the center and play on the king side, and white wants to smash black on the queen side with moves like b4, a4, but more importantly, c5. That move looks like it doesn't do much. It also looks like that pawn could just be a liability, but it's not, because this is actually exactly the way white normally beats black in mainline King's Indian positions. And as I played knight e7, I was like, maybe I should have gone d6, because I think he can go c5. That's the way blitz works. You play a move, and then Ben just plays c5 in a second, because he's good. I mean, the truth hurts. So he played c5. I was like, damn it, now my position's just much worse. So I'm going to have to castle, I'm going to have to channel my inner Blitz demon, my inner Hikaru Neraditsky, Magnus. Well, I don't dare compare myself to such players, but, like, even if you get a worse position, what do? Complicate manners, try to play quickly. I'm playing very slowly at this point, and my position is very bad. So what do? I try to break twice. I play d6 and a5, so I'm trying to, like, smash the structure open. At this point, white needs to figure things out correctly. He takes on d6, and I play queen d6, and he takes on a5. So I can't even take back on a5 because knight to c4 is killer, and I can't stop knight c4 because if b5 en passant. Or he takes, actually, can he just take on b5? I figured bishop b5, I can, like, attack his bishop, win the pawn back. Well, apparently not. Queen b4. Oh, he just holds everything together. And then bishop, oh my god. Oh, his position's a disaster. Oh my god. Oh, ew. Gross. So I realized knight c4 is coming. I'm like, okay, what do you do when your whole side of the board is getting wrecked? You try to fight back, counterplay on the other side. And actually, right around here, I thought I was making some sort of progress. I mean, I'm down a pawn. My position's not good. Do not turn on Stockfish to analyze this position. It's gonna hate it. Takes, bishop f5. I thought, okay, maybe we figure things out over there, and okay, his pawn advantage is doubled a pawns. This is called coping. Like, when your position's really bad, you're just trying to motivate yourself to, like, not surrender all hope. I'm like, all right, I mean, I got some stuff going on over here. Queen to e2, rook d8, d6. And again, remember a long time ago I told you guys that d6 is actually not a move that white wants to play because I go knight c6. It's actually true. Even in this position, like, d6 might be forced, but this kind of got me a little excited because I thought these pawns are sort of frozen now. And then maybe I'll slowly chip away at them. Maybe I'll trade the bishop. Maybe I'll go for the knight, hide my king, bishop f8, But what is the big problem in my position after the move knight c6? I have one major problem in this position. Can you find it? It's like Dora the Explorer, Gotham the Explorer. The one major flaw of this entire position is this. Everything else in my position is actually kind of okay. I mean, like, I have good center space. I have some decent pressure on the d6 pawn. It's the b pawn. And rook b1. And knight a5, I thought, okay, if he takes, I have this. And I'm out of the woods. And from, like, back a few moves, like, from this point forward, Ben basically found every best move to continuously apply pressure. It was really frustrating. Whether you're playing Ben or anybody else, it's like every move you think you're back in the game. Rook b1, I was like, damn, knight takes a5, I'm still good. He thought for a while here, and he played the only move to guarantee white any advantage, which is knight b6. So he blocks his own rook, but he hits my rook. I have to move. I decided to go to a6 to pressure this, but now the knight rotates back toward the middle and hits my queen, and I was like, okay, I understand this is bad, but if knight e7, I just go king h8, I don't actually see how bad the position really is. And then he took on f5. He did this. And again, I thought, all right, we're done. Like, the pressure's over with. And also, I'm going to go march my pawn. I'm actually in good shape. And then he played this move, and I was like, oh my god. I thought I had completely guarded this with my knight. I didn't, because I'm gonna lose my rook. And if I take and he takes, his pawn is completely secure and my knight is trapped. My knight is completely trapped. I mean, I can defend it, but then his rook, he gets rook b1 in the backup. So I'm like, oh my god, rook takes b7. By the way, here machine gives one defensive hold for black, which I didn't see at all. Queen c4. Driving the queen over to c4, blocking the rook. I mean, this is not like the world's hardest move to see, but in a blitz game, all this, it's very easy to miss. and that kind of gets in the way of a lot of white's initiative. But when he played rook b7, I thought, oh, I have this really nice idea. Rook takes pawn. This solves all my problems. Because if he takes, I have this. And he can't move his knight anywhere where the rook hits my queen, because if he checks me, I take it. And if he moves his knight somewhere, I take his rook. I'm like, okay, I'm in the clear. And then again, Ben thought for like 10, 15 seconds. And he played rook a7. And at this point, I started like really imagining what my thumbnail for this video was going to be, because rook a7 is the best move. And once again, it's the only move. It's the only move. He now gets the knight and rook distant enough that knight c6 is a threat. So, excuse me, so he can attack my queen, defend his rook with the knight, which he couldn't do a move ago, hit my rook. He's threatening this, and he's threatening this, and I have no moves. Absolutely no moves. So what do? I'm like, oh, geez. So let me start marching down the middle. Let me just try to do something here. If he takes my knight, I'm going to take this. I'm going to sacrifice the exchange. In a perfect world, we get a position like this, which is still lost for black, but at least I have some hope. But he took first. And after rook takes d6, if he takes on a5, again, we have some hope. But he brought his queen, and I was like, oh, no. There's still not any danger, but my knight is trapped. I can't attack this. Let me just push my pawn. And here is this is nice. That if you thought that first game wasn't too impressive of a victory, queen a5, I was like, what? He's letting me queen, and now I'm protecting my back rank? Oh, I was so wrong. Rook a8 check, bishop blocks. Now that queen, which traversed the entire board, arrives behind my pawns. Queen g7. Rook takes f8. Mate. I can't go to g8 because of the knight, which arrived there a while ago. I can't block. I mean, I could. I'd lose my queen and then the game in a few moves. And yeah, very nice. Very nice end. And when I lost like this, I kind of yelled and then just started clapping because, I mean, this is just a very nice way to lose. Yeah, and well, that is now 3 losses in a row to Ben, and I'm gonna have to win some games at some point. I can't keep getting posterized for YouTube content, but after this, I mean, you know, there was a little bit of a celebration, and then Ben raided me afterwards. So tough games. I mean, maybe not for one of us. Maybe for one of us, they were definitely not tough games. But congratulations again to Ben on 2,800. I remember crossing it, and then I tumbled back down like 100-something points. So hopefully that doesn't happen. It can be very tricky to get back up to 2,800 once you fall back down. But he's been on a killer streak, and I figured that if I lose, I would rather not be made into a YouTube video when I could make the YouTube video myself. And the last thing that I will end you off on is a link to Ben's channel in the description. Ben, I've always recommended his videos to beginners and like intermediate players, because the classroom lectures that he does, like the 1 p.m. or whatever the classes are, they're really funny because he's constantly cracking jokes to like 7-year-olds who don't understand them at all. And his lectures honestly are serious quality. So that's all I have for you for today. It's Sunday, it's sunny outside, so I'm gonna go lick my wounds and cry a little bit. No, I already did that. But I will see you all for the work week beginning tomorrow, and hopefully not more content of me losing blitz games. Peace out. Get out of here.